So when a body's on a death trajectory, on the way to be fertile, it has too many natural killer cells, too much cancer or yeast, and then a hormonal imbalance. So when somebody is saying like, okay, I'm not fertile, I need to go and get pregnant, guess what? They take hormone injections. They take hormone injections. Okay? So this is what causes fertility, is an imbalance of hormones to where they see that the body needs to have these savior type hormones to keep the human species alive. And there's other hormones that protect the body and heal the body. And there's other hormones that will save you in times of stress, like adrenaline, the fight or flight. Okay, so when I'm putting out there that my theory is that when humanity is 100% well, they're not going to be fertile. But we also remember that the conditions that are out there, there are conditions that are out there that impact the body, whether it's in the food or the environment or other types of conditions that maybe, you know, my theory is that if somebody is 100% well, they will not trigger menses and then reproduction. But now, for those that want to still be like, oh, well, you know, reproduction is the most natural thing, everyone should do it, and everyone should do it, and it should be the thing, even when you're 100% well, instead of pushing your pro-reproduction platform that I know some of you are so into, why don't you start taking my information and then extrapolating the data and saying, hey, maybe it's the conditions that you're in that could potentially trigger menses. It may not also just be on your insides. It could be the environment as far as the climate. If I'm in a climate that has extreme conditions like the 4 seasons, don't you think that would impact my reproductive system in some way? Wouldn't you want to look at that? Instead of saying that, oh, reproduction is natural, everyone, even if they're 100%, should be able to reproduce. I mean, like, seriously. And I noticed that there are a lot of pro-lifers out there, that are still trying to push their agenda because I'm trying to annotate what goes on with my body. Okay? And they're trying to use the information against me. And so I got rid of Krista Pina, who is who is religious and loves the idea that people get pregnant. And when I say that I have my menses, she's like, oh yeah, that's on point. Yeah, that's a snarky comment to promote your agenda. Like, seriously, that's a snarky comment. Okay? And I'm not really, and I know Lily Lynn put that article out there, that some lady, whatever her name is, Vance, liked it because it's trying to show that everybody, even animals, but you're not taking into another factor, the Jilly Juice factor for one, and then number 2, the environment that we're in. So yes, I may be able to control my environment internally to be able to see the different manifestations like healing, and you're seeing a reversal in my situation. But I also have the other part of the environment, Stephanie Lynn, holistic health, whatever, girl. But I also have to take into account the factors of the outside environment. Is that impacting my reproductive system as well? Those are the questions you should be asking instead of promoting reproduction as something that everyone should experience or have. Okay? And I'm tired of being subject to other people's politics. Like, I'm so seriously tired of people pushing their politics in some indirect form. Like, seriously, why can't you contribute in a way that makes sense, that is aligned with what I'm talking about as far as the environment and the conditions that would then cause mutations or trigger other systems to then act in a certain way? Why couldn't you have said that, Lily Lynn, instead of putting that article about how all these animals reproduce and how the period goes from here to here to here to here? I mean, what is that? You're not even taking into account the factors of Jilly Juice and the actual outside environment, the external environment. Don't you see everything is connected? maybe my focus was good that I say that if you're 100% well body, okay, then you wouldn't trigger menses. But then there's another part of that. There's also the external environment. So just because you may have 100% body, that 100% well body that is potentially perfect, you may also have to be in an environment that doesn't have fluctuations of homeostasis or interruptions of homeostasis. Maybe your environment also, and we do have chemtrails, we do have 5G, but that may not make your reproductive system totally become like infertile. You may be able to reverse yourself with the Jilly juice, but when it comes to actual reproduction of humanity, maybe the reproductive system senses the fluctuations in the environment and it will still keep menses around just in case there was an extra radiation beam that may potentially up the pathogen levels. And maybe the body is saying, it hopes that I will then take my Jilly juice to then counter those possibilities. Okay, why couldn't you come from that point of view instead of trying to push your pro-child, pro-reproduction? Because as soon as I say, I'm trying to trigger amenorrhea, somebody then will automatically assume that I'm not for children and not for reproduction. Already, the religious types as well as some of the ascension artists out there that are still playing in the holistic world, doing the Reiki, doing all of that stuff, that love reproduction and just can't get enough of it. They're like, oh yeah, she got her period. Her theory is all fucked up now. No, I'm anyone that is at all going to try to take my information and use it against me in any way whatsoever, I'm done with. I really am. I'm trying to be patient with Lily Lynn. I'm so trying to, but I don't know how else. You guys have been around this info. It would be nice if you came from my point of view and understand where I'm coming from instead of trying to disprove it. You haven't even talked about Jilly juice as part of the factors, and you haven't even talked about the environment that I'm in. I'm in Ohio. If I was in Hawaii eating, 100% perfect everything, and because there's so many factors that contribute, I'm putting one aspect of this to where, yeah, in a perfect world, if I'm 100% well, that's one theory, right? 100% well, and that would not trigger menses. Okay, so that's one aspect of it. So now I have my period. I feel amazing. I feel great. I see amazing stuff happen with me. But yeah, I got my period. Okay, instead of saying, okay, well, maybe you're wrong in a nice way that you're saying in your article, why not say, hey, maybe the reason why is maybe you're in a winter climate. Maybe it's the amount of pathogens that are impacting your systems in some way. It may not be so severe that it's mutating you to where you have cancer, disease, and chronic illness, but it may impact your reproductive system because humanity and humans and life doesn't want to go extinct. So it has an insurance policy. Your reproductive system is humanity's insurance policy in an advanced society that has a lot of fluctuating negative elements. It doesn't mean that everyone should get pregnant and that's the best thing and the only thing to say is that you're healthy. These people who are very mutated, that have a bunch of kids, don't like hearing somebody say, well, you're having children from mutations. So they're automatically going to discount this info and then try to prove me wrong. Well, I got your number. I know it. I understand where you're coming from. And I'm not willing to work with those types of people because that's fine. You have kids, but just understand where it comes from. It doesn't mean that anything bad or wrong. It's just how the human body works. But then we have to take into account the environment that we live in that does impact. Because remember, everything is connected. I have put out a lot of information and theories and for things for you to think about, not for you to try to disprove me, but for you to also think about it and help me uncover and take into account and factor in other things. And that's why lately I have been dealing people up because they have a total different agenda. Even though they're not saying it, their articles and what they contribute is speaking totally the opposite. It would have been helpful if Lillian, instead of putting that article saying, oh yeah, all these different animals, indigenous population, and all these people from different countries are getting their periods, and some are getting it in 30 days, others are getting it in 90 days, others are getting this, and other than that, but doesn't even mention Jilly Juice in the factor. She doesn't even mention that. She doesn't mention that maybe in my environment I could have an impact because of the extreme. Oh no, she's got to push that article. It's natural to have a period even if you're 100% healthy. Well, whatever that is. Or saying that, I mean, when say, we don't know. Yeah, we don't know, because guess what? I wish I was if I lived in Hawaii, we need people that live in Hawaii on Jilly Juice 100%, and then we would see, but we don't have enough people out there. So I'm putting stuff out there, and then I want you guys to then think of the things that would then potentially trigger menses. Other stuff besides diet. Okay, because I've been eating on and off the protocol. But then that's the thing, is if you're living in a bubble, if you live in a bubble, that doesn't make sense. That's totally opposite of the protocol. Okay, it's not to live in a bubble and avoid everything. It's being able to adapt to your surroundings and still live indefinitely. That's the whole point. And then maybe the body down the road doesn't want to procreate. And then how does that manifest? What does that look like? It means you don't get your period. It means you lose a little bit of your sexuality or feeling sexual. Not someone to go, when I say, hey, I got my period, because I don't know, maybe it could be like 5 years from now where I don't get my period. I'm just giving you a running log. It's not for you to confirm your point of view. It's not for you to go, oh, here's an article that's going to support my point of view, but do nothing to help contribute to your thesis. That's what pisses me off, is that people that say they're in my corner and they find a way to undermine the shit out of me. And I get annoyed with that. What you could have mentioned the freaking my environment. You could have mentioned the 4 seasons that may have an impact. You could have done that. But no, it's a tunnel vision. I know I'm the only one that thinks of all these different things, and you guys are still tunneled. But then if you have nothing to contribute to that, to support my thesis, then don't comment at all. Not snarky comments and not articles to support your agenda. And, and this does go against all of the pro-reproduction people, because you don't like hearing that mutations come children, but that's pretty much what goes on, okay? That's pretty much what happens. When your body is on a death trajectory, fertility happens for the most part, unless there's a specific attack on your reproductive system that renders you infertile. But for the most part, if you are on a death trajectory and your body is breaking down, you're going to be fertile, because the human population, the human species, human race doesn't want to go extinct. It's called instinct. No different than a dog or a cat or a rabbit doing what it needs to do every spring so they can keep their species going forward. So yeah, I'm very sensitive to other people's agendas. If you're not supporting me, then you're completely trying to undermine me. Like, seriously. And I don't care if I don't care if someone says, oh, I love Jilly Juice, but hold on a second, your theory around reproduction, I don't agree with that. So here's an article where I can undermine you in some way when you post something that doesn't really exactly align with what you've been saying. I'm trying to trigger amenorrhea, but I'm not trying to focus on that, because Kevin did say you'd focus too much on it, then yeah, something, whatever. So I get that. Right, Kevin. I mean, and I don't want to focus, but I'm going to give you the data. I'm not going to withhold the data and then try to manufacture an outcome. If someone was nefarious and wanted to manufacture a thesis, and they'll say, oh yeah, and not ever mention I ever get my period, and say, yeah, my period's done with it. I haven't gotten it since like 2005. Okay, that's manufacturing, but I'm giving you honestly what is going on with me, but it doesn't give room for you to go and try to push your agenda. That's not the point of my running log of what's going on. And that's my point. And so, hey, Venice Weeks. So, Kevin Van Rompuy says, the environment has a huge impact on your genes. In this case, I would say the environment is the winter. Winter equals low or no sunlight, also known as biophotons, also life light. Yeah, you're probably right, Kevin. That's what they say, that, when people get pregnant in the springtime, or they get pregnant in the wintertime and then they have a baby in the fall or some shit. I don't know. Okay? But I would love it if people like Lily Lynn or somebody else wouldn't be promoting their agenda of reproduction. That they would actually, like just Kevin said, hey, it could be the environment that's triggering. But see, he didn't even know to say that until I kind of mentioned the environment. But he didn't say anything at all. That's key. That's a sign of a smart dude. If you're not going to find a way to support whatever I'm saying, then you need to keep silent and stop trying to push your agenda. You can push your own agenda on your own Facebook. I'm not going to quibble with that. It's those that push their agenda in a very surreptitious manner, in a very obvious manner, like a freaking article. And I'm trying to be diplomatic and be understanding, but I don't like being undermined even nicely. It pisses the fuck out of me. It really does. Because it shows that you really are trying to undermine me in some way. You really truly are part of the holistic crowd, trying to, promote all the holistic supplements and doing all the hormonal manipulations and playing in that. And you're trying to incorporate J-Juice and you're trying to negotiate without actually asking me, hey, if I negotiate, my own platform by supporting yours, are you going to support mine and not cut off my voice? Well, Lily Lynn just did a negotiation that she was not upfront with. Like seriously, she wasn't upfront with that negotiation. She still wanted to push her reproduction agenda and she just pushed the article out there, but didn't even mention, hey, J-Juice was never ever all and factored into this. So you know what? J-Juice is a wild card. How would J-Juice then impact this article's information? Oh no, she wouldn't even bring in J-Juice as that part of that article. Didn't even acknowledge where J-Juice could potentially impact that. And then think of other scenarios. That's what pisses me off, is when someone is totally obvious in their agenda and then they're calling innocence. Oh, I didn't mean to do it that way. I didn't mean to say it. And I know what she's going to say. Oh, I didn't mean that. I didn't mean to do it. I'm so sorry. Done. I really am done. People are dropping like flies off my Facebook. But the reason why I'm going to give her an out right now is because she does contribute to my website. She has contributed to my website, but I'm still going to call her out. But I'm going to keep her around. But that's an example of what I don't want, and maybe she won't do it again, hopefully. But I'm going to keep her around because she has contributed to my website forum. She's helped people in my website forum to deal with their questions about things. And I am thankful for that. But doesn't mean I'm not going to call somebody out when I don't see them thinking on a more global manner, not so damn tunneled. Because that right there, I have to communicate this. I can't, friends don't put their head in the sand and pretend it doesn't exist and let it fester and then eventually bam. No. Friends and people that you respect will say, hey, I don't like your behavior. Do something about it or don't. Here's a warning. Do it again. Done. That's it. When you comment on my Facebook, it better be something that is constructive or aligned or thinking a bit more global and maybe a little abstract, not so tunneled. Because chances are you're not going to put forth any really good comments that are going to help anybody or myself because you're not thinking from my point of view. My Facebook is for people who are needing to just absorb this info, not impose their point of view or impose their platform or agenda. So yeah, I did a little reaction right there because, I'm not going to lie to you guys and say, oh, I never got my period ever again, so now I'm 100% healthy. I'm never going to lie to you on that, ever. But I don't want to use my information to then uphold and justify your platform. I will never, ever expect that from you guys to do that. And if you use my information to then promote your platform is when I'm going to call you out for one. So yes, Lily, you just joined. You better watch this again because I did call you out, but I'm still keeping you. You know why? Because you have contributed to my website. You have contributed to me as well as other people. But I was kind of pissed about that article that you put. It didn't register right away, but then I noticed what you didn't say. And I know it's probably a language barrier, but here's the thing. We're not going to have a language barrier anymore. Even in German or some other language, you can still figure out where J juice could be incorporated and how it could be a wild card in that article about the gorillas or indigenous population when it comes to menses or when it comes to reproduction and menstruation. You could also have said, hey, you know, the reason why you may have gotten a period is because you're living in a very cold climate with not a lot of sunlight. So that could have contributed too. You know, environment has a lot to do with why periods or things happen. But I first had to introduce the theory around reproduction, which actually makes sense. And then I had to introduce amenorrhea versus menstruation versus menopause. So those are all these different layers of learning. And then now I'm in Ohio versus, hey, I could be in Hawaii in a very mild, temperate, even climate, eating the J juice, eating all the great foods out there that aren't like completely horrific. And I probably would have never got my period. But I don't know. I'm not in Hawaii, so I cannot give you that outcome. But it would have been nice, Lily, if you would have said, hey, you live in Ohio. That's a major impact on your genes. Your environment, the climate that you live in could impact your genes in some way. So it could speak to why you got your period. Instead of putting forth that article that talked about how, oh, maybe the period is totally normal and we don't know what's going to happen. Well, instead of saying that, just acknowledge that J juice is the wild card. What was wrong with acknowledging J juice? Why did you have to put that article out there? Why don't you think from a more global and then think along the lines of J juice and where it could factor in? But you didn't even do that. And then you have this person liking it because she has a bunch of kids, mutated. She didn't even like my post. She just liked your comment because she was a pro-reproduction person. All the pro-kids, oh yeah, having kids is a wonderful thing, which yeah, it is, but it comes from a mutation. But if you don't like hearing that, then you're going to hate my information and you're going to push your pro-kid agenda. Reproduction and pregnancy is a beautiful thing. Having all these hormones fluctuating all over your body is a beautiful thing. Not really, because look at the mutations from all those hormonal fluctuations. And they're not even good, because when you are reproducing, those are hormones that are trying to keep the human species alive when you are in that reproductive hormone state. The body's trying to survive because of the mutations in your body. So reproduction isn't necessarily a beautiful thing when it comes from mutations, but people want to dress it up as a beautiful thing. Because how else are they going to justify? I mean, we have our society just, honoring the mother and the father and the children and babies and everything are either disposable or they're revered. Our babies in our society are disposable or revered. That ought to tell you something. Our grandmas are disposable and revered. That ought to tell you something. Those are the two extremes on the spectrums. God forbid should you hurt a grandma and disrespect a grandma or a grandpa. God forbid should you hurt a baby. But guess what? Those two sides are disposable and revered. That's insane. So instead of trying to push your agenda of how, oh yes, understand why it is that we have that type of dichotomy, that false dichotomy. Why is it? And then why are you pushing your reproductive agenda and saying that menses is a beautiful thing and that it's probably normal? I mean, you didn't say it, but you didn't exactly factor in J juice anywhere to say, hey, what could J juice do to then possibly have a different outcome in this person's research? Okay, with my situation, why didn't you mention the environment that I lived in? You've been doing this as long as me. You've been following me for a while. How come that didn't even come as something to even consider? Why do I have to think of these considerations? Why do I got to react to some of you because I have your own agenda? But I guess it's a good thing, right? Because I come up with these ideas and revelations from my hormones because I'm reacting to all of you. Because you guys can't think and help me uncover some of this to help you understand the world that you live in. When you're still so tunneled in your agenda, you're not going to be able to understand a totally different thought process. When you're so focused on how beautiful pregnancy is and reproduction is and all of that, then you're not going to see the bigger picture because you're still so focused on how beautiful cultivating and manipulating your hormones are. And I'm saying, no, it's not beautiful. It's only beautiful if it's healing the body 100% to where you can take yourself from being so full of cancer, disease, and chronic illness to now being 100% perfect. So yeah, that's why I'm keeping you, Lily, because you have other things that you're contributing. So I get it. And yes, language barrier, but still, it doesn't matter language barrier. You can still think on a different level. I'm trying to get you guys to think on a different level. But yeah, I'm going to be like, because I don't want you to be trying to undermine me and trying to negotiate without really coming, being upfront with your negotiation about your platform and how you want me to keep your platform if you support my platform. That's not the thing that I'm trying to do, is negotiate surreptitiously with anybody or them trying to do that with me. No. I have a bigger picture here in mind that is not so narrow. The only two differences that we have is life and death. That's it. Everything else is all the stories. Okay? And reproduction and sexuality is a direct correlation to the death trajectory. How hormones get distributed and what manifests, it doesn't even matter. Who cares? When you're inducing hormones to where sexuality comes into play, it is a death trajectory regardless of who you are. And then when reproduction happens, it's from those mutations. That's it. Now, how does the environment impact the reproduction is what you should be asking yourself. Not still trying to confirm your own agenda, but actually asking the right questions. Is Jillian's environment impacting her reproductive system? Why is it her period so crazy? 49 days here, 59 days here, and then 30 days here since like a couple months back, since like the holidays. I'm asking you guys to help me out. I've been helping you guys so much out. I don't need you guys every single time you see something that doesn't confirm my theory that you're going to implement your agenda. That's not what I'm looking for. I'm not looking for you guys to look for cracks in my theory. I'm looking for you to try to explain and help us take part in figure out all the different factors that contribute to what causes or what influences our genes and then our hormones and then why it manifests this way. That's all I'm asking. It's just to help me out. Don't undermine me, even in the most nicest way, because that's not fair. And I don't expect that from my people, my inner circle, or anyone that says that they support me. So, there you go. That's it. Bye.